the hardest working podcast in Portland, Oregon, man.
Play
No.
game.
What's up, you guys? It's Portland's #1 dangerous podcast. Back at it again. Hit the sound effects. Boom, boom, crash.
Everybody love everybody.
Cartier Bob and friends. And if you like what we're doing, like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. But I'm not going to bore you with our same old, same old. We have illustrious guests. We have someone. You're not going to let us introduce ourselves first? Oh, we could do that too as well. My bad. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Koss, one of the hosts.
And I'm Arthur.
I'm Cartier Bob. And
Oh
hey, I apologize. Hey, I will take that L. I did it improperly. So before we have our very first segment, we have a wonderful, illustrious guest, and they are hailing from the land of mental health awareness. A person who can paint a picture in your mind and on the canvas. We have Stephanie here on the podcast today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Super dope. Oh, you gonna just let me go straight into it, huh? Okay, so we have our first segment of the show. It's called Play No Games. It can be positive, negative, informative. It can be anything you want it to be. All you have to say is, I'm ready to play no games about this. And Robert, you gonna go first today?
I was actually ready.
Good.
You know,
Nice.
fuck off. Anywho, see, we can cuss here.
Good.
It's
It's gonna come.
I don't want to play no games about Creed 3. I actually watched Creed 3 and
Today, right?
Today.
I saw your story.
I know. I seen my story. But I will say this. I can see why people don't like Creed 3. I will say this now. Creed 2 is my favorite out of the trilogy. It goes Creed 2, Creed 3, and then Creed 1.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say this. Creed 3 hits different to me because Jonathan Majors and Michael B., they were like inspired by like anime, and like some of the fights at the end, I caught the references, but like for the audience and the casuals who don't know or get like that metal, physical, deep level, where I can see where they lost some of the audience. I would say overall, great movie. Tessa, goddamn. If, my kid, was signing and, I can't say that shit. Fuck it. It's been like a couple weeks. Their kid is death.
I ain't seen it.
The girl.
Oh, I know the movie.
Yeah.
But I ain't seen that. Wow.
The way she was
ruined
signing
it.
and shit. And I was like, damn, I need a wife to do it all. So I was like, damn. So it was a very dope, very inclusive movie, and it wasn't tasteless.
What do you give it out of 10?
Compared to Creed?
The Rob score.
Oh, the Rob score. I give it a 6.3.
That's a good score. Okay, I was scared you're going to give it like a 9.5 or something.
Who are you?
I don't know. I thought.
Have you seen it too?
No, but I respect you with a lower score means there's better stuff out there.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, interesting. Koss, what you playing no games with?
I'm playing no games about consistency.
Bedroom?
No. Just lately, just my schedule's been all over the place during the week. Last 2 weeks, it's kind of just been here, there, everywhere. Felt super overwhelmed, and this week has been just about getting that consistency back, getting the flow I'm used to, and just getting back to good state, strong state. Yeah.
All state.
All state. Yeah, there you go.
Are you in good hands?
Wait. Answer the lady's question. Are you in good hands?
Isn't
Ooh.
that it?
Ooh, yeah. Are you in good hands, Koss?
I'm with State Farm right now. So
Oh.
it is what
There
it
you
is.
go.
I'm with Jake right now. I don't know why that guy's so famous.
No, there was this funny, because linking it back to Michael B. Jordan, the SNL,
Yes.
that skit was so
Hilarious.
fucking hilarious. Have you seen it,
Hilarious.
No.
Oh, man.
bro?
It's Michael B. Jordan plays like Jake, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like having an affair with the
With
guy.
the mom. Yeah, with
It's,
the
pretty, it's
wife.
funny. It's funny.
Bro, it's
I have
worth
to
your
look it up.
time. It's worth
He
your
like
time.
never leaves.
It's like SNL is
I know
mid,
what SNL.
but like that. I know it's mid, but like that was like the very first like funniest like SNL skit.
Yeah.
Like
There'll be one every like year or two.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Arthur.
You ready? Oh, I was gonna pass it to our guest.
Oh, okay.
You ready?
uncultured.
Okay, huh?
You ready?
So I have to say, I ain't play no games.
No, you don't have to
Wow.
say it. You can just be like, I'm ready to play no games about whatever you want to play. So I'm ready to play no games about.
I'm ready to play no games about. I was just talking about it with you, being open, and just letting things flow a little bit before like making rash decisions. Before like closing doors that make me like too uneasy, like this. I was like, I don't know what we're gonna be talking about. I need a little more structure, but I said, you know what? Let's just be open to it and see how what comes of it. So
That's dope.
Yeah, we're devout followers of Angie Tate, so we're gonna be asking you a lot of misogynistic
Hell.
questions.
Oh, not
Men are
just
better than
fashion up.
women all the time.
Crazy.
Slave work.
I think I'm on a positive note today. I'm playing no games about the USA team. So I got the opportunity to go down to play or try out for the USA rugby team, and I made the team.
Ah, let's
That's
go!
amazing.
So
Let's go!
This is breaking news.
This is breaking news.
so I just got told today. So it was,
Wow.
Let's go. So we're going to London.
yeah. So it's London 2024 for World Cup.
We're going to London.
So yeah, it was pretty excited.
That's dope.
Kind of ready to go. We will take a trip to New Zealand for 10 days, and we'll go to one other place, and then we go to London for World Cup. So I get to compete on the world stage. It'll be exciting.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
That's awesome. Do you know what stadium?
No, I don't know. I can figure that out though.
If it's
I think it's
Wembley,
where
it's
like
huge.
the some of the London teams play for rugby.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Can we get a close up? And then once we get the close up, get the close up on AJ. All right, I want you to look at the camera and talk your shit right now. Talk your shit. That's dope. Talk your shit
You deserved it.
I mean, it just
Work
it's,
for
in the
it's
camera because the haters be watching.
You work hard for it.
hard work and dedication pays off when your mind is in the right place.
God did. Suffering from success.
Yeah, so just kind of on a positive note, I think it's crazy because I'm kind of more newer to the sport, so getting that opportunity was a blessing to me. And I'm excited. I'm excited where the journey takes me. So it only comes around every 4 years, so only got a few more in the tank before I have to hang the shoes up. So I'm trying to at least get a gold medal before we go.
Dope.
Very cool.
We're gonna gold medal mission. That's our motto this year is gold medal mission. So that's kind of the mindset that we have to stay with. So.
Wow, congrats.
Man, I said it first. Last episode. I just want to. I said it first. You know what I'm saying? But major congratulations, man.
Big. So excited. It's a lifelong goal that I've wanted to accomplish. So it's pretty dope. So
Since we're passing out medals, I gotta pass out a medal to this person right here, and she definitely took the pledge to work on what America needs best: our mental health. So please, Steph. Oh, can I call you Steph?
Yeah.
I have a checkered past with a lot of Stephs.
Okay.
I'll just say,
Many of us have.
hey, I'll like.
oh my
When I
god.
said today,
It's
it's like
hilarious that you said that.
Huh?
It's so funny that you pointed that out.
because okay, I'll keep it a band. My therapist's name is Stephanie. She who may not be named is also named Stephanie.
Ex-girlfriend.
Yeah. So she's Voldemort now. But
Okay.
Wow.
it was just like second nature. But I divert from my trauma because I'm going to talk to a professional.
Oh man! All right.
What got you into and wanting to be about
Doing all this,
mental
yeah.
health? I'll let you decide and what you want to tell the people your journey with mental health and the title that you would like for people to know you as.
Oh wow. Okay. I have a few titles.
Oh,
but,
okay.
I
Talk them up
mean,
then. Talk your spit.
so
you talk about me. Talk your spit.
I'll talk a little bit about just kind of what brought me to, I guess, here. Like, I think it goes back to school when I was. I'm from Minnesota. Went to school in Wisconsin, and just trying to figure out what I was gonna do with my life. And I have my undergrads in human development and family studies, and I had a professor, Dr. Wolfgram. I love her. She's amazing. And she would go to a local jail and take some social work students. And this is a men's jail, and she did a program, like a 12-week program, CBT, and we were kind of co-facilitating with her. And what struck me was 80% of the men there were in there for nonviolent crimes, and 80%, mostly drug offenses, and 80% of them were fathers. And that piece, like, really shook me, thinking about all of these fathers are not in the community right now. And it made me think about, like, how important my dad is to me. And so it really started there, just like wanting to work with men. And we live in a man's world, and I feel like that's where we got to start. That's where we got to start healing. So that's kind of like the base, the root of everything, and how it all started. But right now I just got a job offer, and I'm like, as you're talking about your huge accomplishment, and I've been working so hard to do this thing, like, I was going to ask you about, like, that imposter syndrome, right? Like, I'm at where I once wanted to be, and it still, like, doesn't feel like enough.
I think that's built more on capitalism. I think we keeping up with the Joneses, this aspect of not having enough, is that I think that comes back to that whole mindset of not being satisfied with the process. And I think touching back into that is like you stay hungry and stay motivated to do more, instead of pausing to smell the roses in that accomplishment and celebrating those. I think we forget to celebrate because we're like,
100%.
I'm not at 100 million yet, so I'm not going to celebrate 100,000, And so it's like being able to take those baby steps in order to get to bigger things.
Yeah, and to kind of add to that, imposter syndrome ideology is it just means you're human.
Yeah.
It means everything's working the way it's supposed to be. I know I suffered from it recently when I came into a new role within my company, and I was like more managing now. So it's like now my words meant more when I was talking to people, and I dealt with that for a minute. But what I can say is it's a time thing. A month, 2 months into whatever you're doing now, it's gonna go away, and you'll say, "No, I deserve this. I work hard enough. I'm so good at this shit."
Yeah.
That, like, it just goes away.
Yeah, I think it comes up with every new position. Like, every time you elevate, you're gonna get a little bit of it, because it's like, oh, this is new, I don't know it. It's like being the freshman again when you go to college. Like, you're like, yo, I like being a senior, because, like, I knew everybody and I was a king status, and now I'm like the bottom again. And getting comfortable with starting again, like, is what I'm on right now. But
it's a big feat. I think a lot of times people get scared of that, so they won't start again. They won't move up because they're like, you telling me I gotta meet new people and embrace different things and take on something new, and it's like I'm gonna stay where I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
And now that growth process now is not as much as you could have had, and I don't know.
Yeah. For sure. And I'm having, I just got this job offer. I'm not gonna go too much in detail because I don't want to put it out there. But it's like still in that imposter syndrome of like I feel like I'm still not like an expert in this current role. But now I got this new offer. It's just something different, and part of me feels like I gotta wait till I master this to like move ahead. But also it's like this thing is coming up for a reason, maybe. So that's where that be open stuff comes in, because like I'm trying to break old habits that no longer serve me. And so what's tricky about the mind is what is familiar is safe. Right. And so like when you're working on changing and evolving, I feel like your intuition, it can feel tricky because it's like, your old mind is like, nah, go to what is safe, what is familiar. And like your evolving self like says, nah, that doesn't serve you anymore. So that's kind of where I'm at.
No, I like how you frame that and how you open up the conversation to talk about the abundance that you are also receiving, because I think what a lot of people understand is in the public eye, once someone dons the cape or the role of like I personally don't say exactly what I do for like separation from like church from state. Yeah. But it's like when you're just talking about imposter syndrome, people don't understand that when therapists decide they want to do certain things, we get that same feeling just like everybody else, because we have to take care of somebody's life. They're like, oh my gosh. And this is not someone, but they're like, my grandma this. And you're like, oh, fuck, this person's coming to me every week, laying their life on the line. And if I'm not to my mastery role, I'm going to watch this person like crumble.
Right.
So like when you were talking about that, because, that's something that, it's actually, I'm glad we're kind of like opening up like the human aspect of like having a level up. Because like, yeah, we'll definitely talk about more like the mental health aspect, but like, I think this is actually a perfect place to start, because people don't hear that side of the fence, because when you go in, see someone, they like, you have all the answers, Sway, like, give me the answers.
Yeah.
And I guess I want to ask you this, just, stay on brand. It's like, how are you wanting to prepare yourself for this role? Because you are human, but you also are helping someone regulate their emotions, stress tolerance. What's that mastery that you're seeking?
What is helping me navigate all this is transparency and honesty and like connection. I feel like I do therapy a little different than my peers, and I bring myself to the space because I feel like spiritually, the things that I'm working on, people cross my path that have to do similar work. And what I've been finding in the years that I've been doing this is like, when I help myself, it gives me kind of some ideas to help them. And so, you just said separate what church and state. Yeah. And I've been challenging that to be completely like transparent, because it's just easier that way. I just am who I am, and I don't have to like fuck your code switching. Like I'm just like am who I am, and like it's I don't know, and being that and doing that gives permission to do the same, and yeah, I don't know if that answers.
Oh, most definitely. What?
Yeah.
I think that goes back to your openness when you started it off with openness, right? Like being able being able to acknowledge your own openness into a space or an environment allows me to respect it, not only respect it, now acknowledge it. And now I have the confidence to be open because you are sharing that now with yourself. And so it's like how you were saying, the growth that I see in myself, I reflect on someone else and watch their growth. And I think it's beautiful because that is exactly what transparency goes to be, right? And so everything that you've said is just kind of lined up in a perfect picture, like how you've painted these words and these values and these images that just when I can be in your space and really feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that is where you'll get the most out of somebody is.
And that's when we can do the work.
Mm-hmm.
When you're comfortable and you feel safe, it's really not being safe around me. It's being safe around with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And like that, I'm showing you I'm here being who I am to let you be chill with whatever you've been judging yourself about, so that we can like talk about what's going on with you. Like it I think it's a way to like pull all the masks that you have to do, have to play and wear all day every day. If in terms of like therapy and stuff, like I need you to pull these off to really get to the root issue. What's coming to mind is like an example of this is I be going through my own shit. Like I be going through my own, and sometimes I'm teaching class and I'm having to teach shit that I needed to hear yesterday. Or I taught something today that I needed to hear tonight. There's a moment, I'm going to say earlier this week, I was going through it and I had to figure out how to regulate myself and like bring myself back to reality. And I did this breathing exercise just like to help myself through it. It worked for me. So then I brought that to group today and I was like, let's try this together. And it felt like that alignment. Like I can speak on this because I've been practicing. I practiced it last night, So that's kind of like an example of like how I'm trying to bring vulnerability in our work. And that is like, I think so, I don't know if taboo is the right word or against the grain. I think.
It's no. Taboo. We're like, I don't know how you feel. We're like going to like graduate school, and then I guess I got more into wanting to be. I moved from being like a child psychologist to just a general psychologist to therapist. And I think what shifted and changed me was the one, I wanted to help families more, and I feel like more as a LCSW be able to help more families more than the other titles. But one thing that I noticed, because the real reason why I wanted that freedom is because in all these entities, right, you're boxed in to do therapy this one way. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of different ways you can connect with people. And with the title that the titles that we have, we're able to try different things. Yeah. And the boards will accept, or like, because every therapist fears like, oh, is this practice? Could you do this? Could you say this was appropriate to the board? Yeah. The board that we adhere to, there's a lot more things of like, I was jumping on the couch like Tom Cruise, to build rapport with my, like, they're like, okay, I can see while you're doing.
It has to be evidence based.
Exactly. Where like they'll take the evidence base in account, but they're also, because what you guys were also talking about was really dope. What a lot of people don't understand is very basic and simple. Is the Therapeutic Alliance. You both were just kind of like talking about like, can I share? Can I be open and vulnerable? Mm. And like that's a big key point when it comes to therapy. Like, can I be open with this person? And I would say that is like the number one thing in any like therapeutic relationship for you to grow from something. It's like, for me and my vibe, there is like elements of me that's in my therapy, but when it comes down to it, it's important for a person to feel comfortable to open up to me, where I'm like, for me, I'm like, look here, what I say all the time. You see me for one day out of your entire week. You can listen to me or not. This is your life. I want to build a life that's worth living for you. And like and usually I feel for me, I get a lot more people who hang with me because I irradiate this aura of like, live your best life, G.
Yeah.
G-et, non-binary G's. All the way. So no, I really appreciate you guys like talking about that, because that is Therapeutic Alliance. That's the number one thing. If you feel uncomfortable, you're not at the right place.
Yeah. I think it's tough right now because we're at such a shortage of providers. So folks feel like they find somebody and they gotta just stick with them. Sometimes that's the case. But I always say, like, if the therapist isn't a good fit, keep on moving because you're paying for it, and it's for you. And yeah, I mean, I think everything is about connection. Like, before we did this, I'm like, before you roll the cameras, I need to know who I'm talking to. I need to feel the vibe. I need to know, what it feels like. And so that's how therapy is, I think, as well. But yeah, rapport building is number one. Like, you gotta connect. You gotta click.
A little bit on that. I have a 2-part question.
Yeah.
First part. Do you work? I believe you work mostly with men, or
I used to.
Okay.
Yeah. I worked with men for 3 years at a residential center. Okay. Yeah.
And then second part of that was going to be, building that rapport, having that connection, adding to that. How have you felt working with men specifically? Have you had to adjust kind of your style, how you do therapy, how are you tailoring it to that? Because I believe, it's probably going to be a little different than versus maybe like a women.
Yeah, so the population that I work with were folks that are just coming straight out of jail and prison. Oh, so it's a whole nother layer, Yeah. And so I had to learn a lot about what the hell I'm wearing. What I'm saying, how I'm saying, right? In grad school, it's all about speak articulately and use all these words and these big books, yada, yada. And then at this job, if you spoke like that, they did not respect you. They did not open up. They did not like, who the hell are you? I'm from the streets. You don't know who I am, So they give me permission to be myself. I think they inspired me, to be how, we were talking about earlier about just like authentic, because they can smell fear from miles away. And I caught on to that real quick. So I like working with men. I like masculine energy. I think it brings out my masculine energy. And yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but right now I'm not working solely with men, but we talked about wanting to do men's group, and that's what I'm wanting to work toward is putting together a men's group, and that's what I used to do in the men's facility as well, is facilitate like a process group, which was amazing. Magic happened there because it's like I'm just facilitating, you know. I'm reading body cues, I'm reading body language, and I'm seeing if they're, you know, mental health's okay, you know, if they're falling asleep, a lot of stuff. It's exhausting to run groups because you have to read everybody. But anyway, the groups is amazing because they essentially run themselves if you can help people connect. And yeah, I really like groups. You have to run groups?
um, I'll be going back to that very, very soon.
You don't like it?
Oh no, I'm fine with groups. I just
Talk more about your day job.
they don't because I call myself a mental health warrior on the show a lot.
Okay.
But no,
we don't have to go into it
because a client was like, "Hey, I found your podcast," and that
that didn't happen. Yeah. Welcome to the Play-Doh Games podcast. As you can clearly see,
what was that?
As you clearly see, this is what we're but groups are a very powerful thing because that's also another reason why I wanted to, as we were talking, have you on is like, it's always good for people to have the experience of like one-on-one. Like it's important, but like group work is where you can get a lot of great skills. And one of the things I wanted to ask you is you were talking about process groups, and I know there's a myriad, butchered that. There's a lot.
That's what you get for trying to use big words. I'm just kidding.
I couldn't make it in prison. Damn right I'll make it because I'm a dog. But anywho, you talking about process groups, and I was wondering if you could break that down just a little bit more for like people who are listening. What's a process group? Yeah. Like, what is that process for someone who would get into like a group?
Yeah, so I think they're mostly called like support groups too. But this group particularly was, you know, there's got to be some structure of like, my name is XYZ. This is how I'm feeling. You know, a little intro, and you have folks who are, y'all have something in common. So whether it's, you know, like an AA group or like depression group or whatever it may be. But it's somewhat structured, but I'm drawing a blank. So I'm thinking about like the groups that I do now versus those groups, but it's a lot. I think what is beneficial about it is connection with other people. I mean, what we're doing right here, right now, I feel like could be kind of, it's like a similar dynamic. I am just connecting with you and seeing how human you are and what you're going through. And I do a lot of storytelling. People that I work with don't like to open the door to that because they feel like it's rambling. And I found it really interesting because I feel like brown and black folks storytell. Like, that's how we connect. And so what I'm seeing is like, oh, we don't want them to open up and process. We just want to have structure and stuff. But I think in storytelling is how we connect. So I think it depends on who's facilitating the groups. But for me, these groups are about figuring out how to help ourselves together, right? I don't know how to talk to my daughter about giving me some privacy. And how do I do that? A mom in the space is having the same issue. I don't know how to do that, but let's try this. You know, there's a daughter in the room that says, well, you know, from my perspective, I could hear it this way. And so it's just people connecting and being real. But I like to facilitate, like I like to bring myself in those spaces too and tell a little bit of stories where it's safe enough, right? I'm not divulging anything that I haven't processed myself or that is too tender, too vulnerable, because that's inappropriate, right? But I do find ways to bring humor and storytelling in group therapy. That was super roundabout way to explain it, but that's my style. I'm a circular thinker. I'm not linear at all.
Like someone else we know.
Yeah, like I actually take that as a badge of honor. Where like I agree, I have the same ideology and logic. Where I don't know if you use it why am I struggling with words today? Exclusively, but I feel like what you're talking about and how you run your groups is you use narrative therapy. I'm a narrative therapist, and what I like to tell people is narrative therapy. If you're unfamiliar, it's mapping a story and it's mapping and figuring out the influence of that. But like the super dumbed down version, I like to tell people is like we work on the story you tell yourself when you wake up. And I always tell clients, allegedly, I work with you on trying to build not a positive story, not a negative story, but a balanced story of your life. Because if you were working at it and building a balanced story of your life, you talk about where you're lacking, you're talking about where you're succeeding, and you're also talking about where you can just be a human. And I feel like if you have that center, then you're able to navigate life a little bit differently. And so no, I also believe people and humans grow through storytelling. It goes back to the dawn of ages. Like, you know, however people think of, you think of God, or if you think of, you know, Big Bang, whatever, cavemen, cavewomen, blah, they all sat by the fire, and I'm pretty sure they were like, ooh. You know, they was telling their stories. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, some of the first writing was hieroglyphics, which are pictures, you know what I'm saying, which can be interpreted into a story, you know, at the end of the day. So as y'all begin to even think about that, or even bringing up a story, everyone has something relatable to that story. Like someone has some type of experience that can be like, that makes sense. That happened to me when I was a kid. And now it not only brings you closer as individuals, but it's like I can take something out of that. I think it's for me it's how I also think and process things too as well, because I'd rather paint a picture than read the words on a book. So yeah.
No, I'm like gushing that you said that, because I'll just say this. I know a lot of people that think that therapy is in the stereotypical of like, you get on a long couch, tell me how you feel, and they'll show you some ink blobs. Like I be laughing. Like I bring humor. I bring myself, and like I'm like, tell me the story. So I think that is you know, I think, you know, so I'm I'm like, yeah.
I have some questions for y'all.
Oh shit.
Please.
Yeah, I mean, just around like men's mental health. And I'm curious about y'all's journey, right? Like y'all don't have to go super vulnerably deep, but I think I would like to talk about how do y'all take care of yourselves mentally, and how difficult is it to find safe spaces to be real?
Wow. Are you psychoanalyzing this, huh?
Nah, the people need to hear this.
Only a therapist would be doing this.
Who? I guess I'll
Rock,
start.
paper,
I
scissors?
think you're ready.
Whoa!
I mean, I'm not, but I don't mind having a conversation.
He like Drake.
So I grew up single parent household. My father passed away when I was a kid. I'm the youngest of 5 siblings. So I grew up pretty fast, ultimately. So like how a lot of times I experienced throughout my life, I experienced a lot of trauma, but a lot of it came out in sports. And so I think that's kind of also why sports is such a close home base for me, because it was my outlet. It was my place of being able to release a lot of the tension, emotional stress, all the above kind of, and it gave me my place to just be free. And so currently as an outlet for me, I not only coach, but I also work out. And so those are a few places that I'm allowed to just be and give myself back to myself a little bit. And it makes me feel, when I leave those spaces or those places, it allows me to be more relaxed and be back into who I feel like I am. Yeah.
Dope. And it's incredible, right? Because like as you talk about that, you have this wonderful opportunity that has arose for you, you know, and it's like you. I love how we opened up and celebrating that because you worked hard for it, and also like you gave and it gave to you, you know. So it's a beautiful reciprocal thing. So that's very cool. Thank you.
What's the question again?
Was there a clear question? So it's about like, how do you safe spaces? So safe space to, talk about your mental health, and to, manage yourself and what you're going through and being vulnerable. So
Okay.
it ain't a clear question, but it's like whatever hits.
Talk about
for
your
you.
journey.
Okay. Safe spaces. Brave space.
Oh, we ain't on some corny shit, right? But on some real shit.
Okay, real shit. I would say my safe spaces currently in my life where I can be me is, I have to say, have to be my generals. In my mind, I call them my generals. That's Josh and Jordan. Like, I let my hair down. Like, that's part of my crew. Like, those are the two people that I go and table a lot of stuff to. And then the next safe space, and this is by no order. So I just want people to know, if they listen to this, no order, have to be my mom. Mom is definitely a safe space for me. Each day I'm like, man, I'm like, I gotta cherish that woman more. Because she knows, like, I'm so like, gotta go fast so I can do these things to, do things for her. But that's another place where I feel safe, to let myself down, let hair down. And I have to say, what we're building here, is also a safe space here. Cause even though I've said some things that I was like, oh, I'm never gonna say this ever. content, entertainment. And I'm like, this has become like, even though I bunch all these people together, they're like a part of my crew where I'm like, man, I feel my most safest here. And then last but not least, I would have to say, my own therapy. Like, I didn't think therapy was gonna work for me because I was untherapeuticable, because I know the magic they're fucking doing.
Yeah.
And once I released to the system of the machine, it was very effective. And last but not least, I also do have to say too as well with AJ, what AJ said, competition in sports for me is definitely a big release. For like, I know it's during the pandemic when I was just training in the gym, constantly training. Like, I can go train and do stuff, but like having a goal to win at some shit really like that was like, like that felt so good. So I would say those would be like my safe spaces for myself personally, as Cartier Bob. Yeah, I was gonna mess up, but yeah, I'll keep it personal. I'll say that.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Like, and the reason why I ask about like safe space because when I was working with in the men's residential center, that's what I work toward is creating safe space for these folks. And I think it's really difficult for men to have spaces to just be without expectations of being strong, of being a provider, of being someone who produces things, right? I think, like I said, we're in a man's world, and I see, our society measures a man's value by what he can produce, and so I've seen older men who've worked so hard decades, and now they physically or mentally can't perform as well, and they're losing it. They're losing themselves, and it's truly heartbreaking, because they have wrapped their whole identity around what they can do and how much they can produce for other people, essentially. And so when that's not there, how are you measuring your worth? And I think we need safe spaces to be able to analyze that. So thank you for sharing that. I'm very interested to hear what you've got to say.
Yeah.
Him.
To me, wow. Similar light to Arthur here, going back to kind of the way I was raised. So I'm a first-generation immigrant. My family and I came here from Romania, which means I did have to grow up pretty quick. My sister and I had to learn English fairly fast, had to do all the translation work for my parents and for their businesses. They're both small business owners, which means I did have to grow up pretty quick. And also was made fun of a lot growing up because of like my accent, because I got bad grades. I had to go to ESL. I was one of the only kids to go to ESL, all that stuff. So then eventually around like middle school, I realized like, okay, like if this is how you see me, let me make this my weapon. So I put all my effort into school because I wanted a good job, because then I wanted, when people saw me later, be like, oh, look how successful he is now.
Yeah.
And that kind of tied into like also how like my dad visualizes the world. This is getting a little deep now.
It's okay.
This is getting into, because like my dad is that exact way where it's like he values himself based off what he can produce. He's a very traditionalist thinking man. He works as a general contractor, and I see his body breaking down, unfortunately. Yeah. And I think I put myself in those shoes, just in a different way. I knew I didn't want to do it physically. I wanted to do it with my mind. I wanted to be in corporate. I wanted to manage people. I want to do this. So at least I know my body won't break down doing that. Maybe my mind will though. But I guess that's where I've never thought about it that way, where it's like that is where I put my value in. It's what I produce as a person. I have found safe spaces in my hobbies, like these two guys. I enjoy sports. I enjoy competition, but I also enjoy smaller hobbies as well, like I don't know, stitching clothes, thrifting, that stuff. Lit. I don't know, tie-dyeing stuff. But cool. So I guess that's kind of where I find myself, where it's like, yeah, as a man, it's hard to speak out because you are expected to perform in this world, especially if you're a single person. You're looking for a mate. You're supposed to show what you've achieved, what you're able to provide for them.
Yeah. Right. Oh, okay. You've been a little quiet too long. I like what you're saying. Good shit.
She's got us.
What?
Oh, nothing.
No, I can relate to a lot of what you're saying about that ESL stuff. Like, I had to do ESL, and that messed me up because my little sister did it. She's a year younger than I, and I'm like, we both grew up in the same home. She doesn't have to do it. I have to do it. And for me, I was actually dyslexic. And they thought it was a language barrier, but they put me yeah, it was actually a learning difference. Anyway, sidetrack. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. The it was interesting when you said my body won't go, and then you pause and you're like, but maybe my mind will. And what you're talking about is a theme that I've been exploring as well. Is like my parents were in survival mode, and I talked to you about this, and I've adopted the values that they had when they were in survival mode into my life, which I'm not on survival mode anymore. I'm making more money than my parents did combined growing up now. And but I was applying that kind of grinding mentality and like no rest,
That's
no
crazy.
naps. You don't nap. They don't believe in naps.
Yep.
Naps are weak. You can sleep when you're dead. And so learning to like, that was for them, that worked for them in whatever way. Now figuring out what works for me. I need rest. I need to not eat as much rice and beans and protein as they did because I'm okay. I can eat more vegetables. I can afford more vegetables, you know? And so it's felt like a big responsibility to like break all of those survival values and figuring out like, how do I just live and be.
It's so crazy you talk about that because I had this same conversation with my aunt a few months ago. And my aunt, she 25 years plus military vet, retired, lieutenant colonel in the army. Retired, had a pension, all that, and went back to work. She works at the VA, working on her second retirement. And I told her, I was like, man, why don't you just sit down? Like, sit down somewhere.
I can't.
And her mindset was, I don't want to be the welfare family anymore. I don't want to be that because that's how she grew up. But I'm like, you're way past that. I said, both your kids is in college, great jobs, making great money. I was like, you're well past the welfare kid. You're well past that. I said, you need to get out of that mindset because that no longer
Scarcity
applies.
mindset.
Scared. And it's like it no longer applies to you. And so you bring up a fantastic point. I think a lot of people don't recognize, like we talked about in the beginning, that process of stepping away from something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be like my parents because I've seen this all my life, realizing that you're already 3 steps ahead of your parents and where your parents were.
Mm-hmm.
Even after retirement, you're ahead of where they are.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to take a look, smell the roses, and realize where you are. Because otherwise, you're going to run your body down. You're going to run your mind down, thinking that you're somewhere that you're not.
Yeah.
That's great. That's fantastic. That's
a really great point.
And I think it goes back to the imposter syndrome. Right? Like, if I don't know how to sit down and relax and celebrate myself, then like I'm always in question if I'm doing enough, if I'm doing it okay or well enough. And I think that imposter syndrome is maybe a result, can be a result. I mean, everybody goes through it, but yeah, that's what is coming up for me, and it feels like, and then doing kind of the work that we do, I feel like I can sometimes fall into this like martyrdom, like I gotta save the people, and I'm learning to like, yo, you can't, first of all, and like chill out, like go on a vacation, like splurge a little bit, you know, and so finding the balance and all of that, I think is where I've been at lately.
I'll say one of my quotes my clinical supervisor told me, because in my whole mindset of like go, like trying to get all the things done, like I just settle for like any good old clinical supervision. I'm like, this is cheap. All right, cool. Mm-hmm. I'm listening to what this person's saying, but I'm like, blah, blah, blah. So once I found this particular clinical supervisor, and I ingratiated myself with her, and like, all right, this is my like dead ass mentor, things like that. She said something to me. I think it was like last year. She she's like, Cartier. Okay, great. No hate. Anywho, she was like, she's like, you're better served to your community alive. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you don't have to be a martyr. Like literally just that. Like, you're better served to your community alive. Like, the martyrdom that we all have for our communities, we're like, I always use this logic. And I hate to say this. When we're protesting, right? Protesting for a cause. Believe it or not, 60 to 70% of those people are going to go to a house and you got to go home to somebody. And like, you deserve that right to go home to someone, whether your ethos matches what you're protesting for or not. Like, everyone has a right to go home and relax, chill, and just live. And I think that's something that I think people just don't understand. Where, like, we have Barack Obama, like, he has a right to chill out and not be obese. And like, I'm trying to help everyone. And I think that's where like people get caught up with, like, you know, being like a social justice warrior. Like, warriors retire.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Duncan.
Or die.
That too. Yeah, or die. Tim Duncan's jersey's in the rafters. He's living his life. Like, he gave the year. And I think that's what people understand, where, like, you know, Damian Lillard, you know, I don't know if, you know, anywho, I'm not going to go there. I'm trying to make an honest point. I'm just saying, like, everyone has a right to live. I think
no one knows you anything at the end of the day.
Exactly. Mm. So I think that's where I'm at with a lot of that stuff, because people are so like, I'm this and I'm that. And if we took a magnifying glass to their life, I'm like, yeah, remember me at the grocery store and you told that person to fuck off. Yeah, I feel like we're all hypocrites. And I feel like once you, like, you know, fuse and understand that, then you're able to have more grace for everyone else.
I think Cos said it right. Like, no one owes you nothing, but it also goes back on you. You don't owe anyone else anything at all either. Like, you have to remember that. Like, I don't owe anybody nothing. Yeah. A lot of the things that I do is out of my own personal choice or my own free will. Mm-hmm. And I think we have to accept that and acknowledge that and embrace it, because they have that same choice too to make. And so I think people understanding that makes things a little bit better. But I think we also have to understand when that happens, when that person comes and sits down, comes to your office, comes to have a conversation with you, you have to respect that and acknowledge that and embrace that. Mm-hmm. Give them that home, give them that openness, so that now that influence doesn't become a choice, it becomes a want. I have to. I need to. This person gave me something more than what I was actually thinking of.
And that's why I truly change how I view what heroism looks like. You know, you do it for 10 years and you're like, you know what? Like, I'm done. Like, believe it or not, I keep going back to movies, but you look at fucking the movie Megamind. Homeboy got tired. If you see Megamind.
No.
You ever see Megamind? You?
Nope.
I unfortunately
God damn it. I'll use a different one.
I have.
Oh, but he got tired. He's like, like, I feel like, I just want to say, for me, because I don't say triggered, but like, when you said that, it just reminded me of like a young Robert, where I was like, I'm going to help everyone, or blah, blah, blah. And then as I got older, I was like, no, I'm only going to save some of y'all. And then from some of y'all to be like, I know my capacity now, where I'm like, I want to help as many people until this point. And then after this point, I'm hanging up the gloves. I'm going to be in the background and do other things. So I feel like,
this includes, and this is a touchy subject for a lot of people, this mentality includes family. Because, and I've had to learn that, like, doing things for mom. Oh, mom would be proud, you know, and it's like doing things to make somebody else happy, and that includes our parents. And I just talked about this today, is figuring out, like, well, yeah, we were talking about that, what values are mine and what values did I just inherit from my parents, and that no longer serve me, and like trying to do the American dream that they wanted to do, right? And like that dream didn't even exist. It's not even real. It's phony. It's made up. And so like figuring out what the hell you're doing and why the hell you're doing it. Yeah, for who?
All right. Well, this is gonna be a healthy segue into before we kind of like end for the night. Oh,
Are those 30 minutes? Is that what?
Yeah.
Each one is 30 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, look at you, smart brain. We could probably do a
That
saw
confused the hell out of me
challenge.
when I saw the first.
Yeah, we could do that.
A what?
Or not a saw challenge. I'm not trying to put that bad juju on me. We could do it.
Challenge.
Saul.
Oh,
We could do an
like the
escape room.
movie.
I was gonna say, you mean escape room?
Yeah, that's what I was
You want an
thinking.
escape room?
Yes, there we go.
Easy money.
Okay.
They're fun.
If anything, we just kick the door down.
That's literally what I was like. We just gotta break the door down.
Windows.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
One of the things I kind of want to segue us into, just to ask to as well, because I really do appreciate everything you've been sharing, is your art. And I wanted to ask, is that something that is art therapy, or is that just your own venture? And I just wanted to even ask, like, is some of like your therapeutic journey inspired by some of the art you create? Because that is a different piece of you that I feel like people don't really check in and spotlight and talk about that.
Thank you. Yeah, before I did all the social work stuff, I went to school for apparel design, and that's kind of where the interest in fashion and art, I guess, was there. But then I did social work stuff, so I put everything, on the back burner. And 2020, I think it's such a common narrative now, but 2020 during the pandemic, we were, locked down. And I was like, I need to figure out a hobby. Like I know, like I can already see what is happening, and I'm going to be inside, and I know how I am. When I get cabin fever, I need to do something. I need to stay busy. So the family went to Michael's, and we're like, everybody just pick a craft. Like, let's start somewhere. And I had these like little set of acrylics. I have a homegirl, Maya, shout out, who put me on painting like maybe a few weeks before the all of this, and she like had all the materials laid it out for me, and she's like, go at it. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but she kind of gave me that like snippet of what I could be doing. So anyway, yeah, the painting was my escape. I was living with my sister and her husband, and they remind me so much of my parents. And so when I was doing my own healing work and then living with people who are like my parents, it felt really maddening. It felt very triggering. And so I had my room, and like that was my safe haven. I just would be in there and paint, and it was a lot. It was a distressor. I was working at the men's residential center, and like, it was a residential center, and then they had COVID, and then they were like, COVID, like this is, made up, and they didn't believe conspiracy. Anyway, painting was the way that I expressed myself, and I'll maybe I'll tag my little Instagram page, tab in, but I use it as a way to release my emotions. Sometimes I don't have the words to explain how I feel, but I can put it in on canvas, and I can give you a visual, and a lot of it can be a little dark. And it's interesting because I've gotten mostly comments from men who are like, it's just a little dark, like are you okay? Like I was like when are you gonna paint something brighter and happier? But I think you see a lot of like bright colors, You see a lot of emotion in my work. You see a lot of like pain, and I do a little ritual before I kind of release my work on canvas. So, and I put it up in my office to let people see, kind of connect with that too. That's another way that I bring my authentic self to my work. And yeah, it's a little bit.
Now I'm curious, as
Okay.
someone who also loves hobbies,
Yeah.
and I love using hobbies as an escape.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's say you start a hobby out of fun, and you're just having fun with it, and it's good for whatever. Then you start getting good at this hobby.
Mm-hmm. Which I am.
There you go, yeah. But then maybe you have an off day with this hobby. Maybe you produce something you're not happy with. Maybe you don't perform in a
Writer's block.
so or something.
Mhm.
Yeah, like that.
Yep.
Like I'll play golf and I'll go and just shoot a terrible round of golf.
Yeah.
And then now that escape is now a bigger stress than my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Is that something you find?
100%.
Yeah. It's not just me. I'm not the psycho.
Yeah,
Okay.
because people are like, "What? It's so good," not to like to
Yeah.
my own horn, whatever. But people are like, "This is really good. Like, what are you doing with it?" And then you get that capitalist pressure of like, "Oh, do I need to be selling it? Like, how do I make money out of it?" And that's where I get in trouble. Is trying to make money off of, I think, is a gift. And that's where I've gotten in trouble, and I think sometimes I get writer's block because of it. I was a little story time. I take the Max to work, and I passed this creepy ass park, and I'd really try to be like, I'm okay, everything's gonna be okay, nobody's gonna jump me. When I first moved in that area, anyway. I would see this man in this picnic table every morning, and he had a cup of coffee, and it was cold out, so you could see the steam, and he had a backpack. He looked like he could have been houseless. I wasn't sure. One day I'm like, let me just chat with this man. I was like, hey, what are you doing? And he opens up these binders in his backpack. And it's all this art done with coffee. So he's a houseless dude. He lives in the streets. And he has these beautiful paintings. He has his brush. He dips it in coffee and he paints. It's parks around Portland. It was just like magnificent, like, and something you'd see in any type of gallery out here. But I seen him, and at this time I was having a writer's block, and I asked him, I was like, as a fellow artist, how do you deal with that? And then he told me this story. I'm not good with names, but he was like, there was a famous comic artist, and it was a convention, and somebody came to this artist and asked to paint them a little something, and this artist did this quick little, like, it was like a squiggle, and he's like, okay, that's $40. And the person's like, $40, like, that just took you a second, And the artist said, you seen only a second of it, but this actually took me 40 years to learn how to do. And it just like helped me think about like reducing the pressure of performing when I'm trying to just actually release and use this hobby as a way to feed my spirit instead of getting something out of it. And he really taught me, Stephanie, create without an audience. Create without an audience in mind. And that's really what helps me to avoid that writer's block when I'm creating. And so, yeah.
Okay. I will use that actually. That is actually valuable information.
I'll take that too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, also, I want you to talk your shit because, some of your work is in some galleries as well, right?
I had something this summer. I did. I put something out there. It was like this exhibit. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was an exhibit, and it was like I'm a new artist. I'm very like shy about it. Like very you be humble, and I just had to learn to put myself out there. I met this. How are we on time?
We got some time.
We're good.
We're good.
Don't worry about it.
I met this.
Got real comfortable.
Remember, she's like, we got to make sure I got to set the scene.
Cause I got stories.
Got
No,
real
but
comfortable.
I met this old man who walks his dog around my block, similar to the art coffee guy, the artist guy. And I saw him like 2-3 times, and he has a dog. I pet his dog, and small talking, and he's like, "You must be an artist." Like, how the hell did he know? It was weird. But yeah, we started talking, and he's become like my how do I say, like my art godfather. He's this older white dude, and he just like knows a lot about art and galleries and all the like very foo-foo shit about art. And he'll like take me to these galleries and like teach me how to like, similarly to like the social work stuff, like you need all of those credentials to be in the scene, right? And so he's been teaching me that, like, how do you, talk about your work, and how do you connect with these foo-foo people and that got money and that will pay for your shit. And I don't know where I was going with this. Oh, the art gallery. And I was humble, and he's just like really believed in my stuff. There's a bull that I drew that he loves, and I'll show y'all. But he is like he always shows me art gallery like competition where you can like put your work in to show, and we did something. He's been encouraging me to like not be shy about my stuff, and somebody is going to find it interesting, and because he has found my shit interesting is all I've needed. And so he those two gentlemen have been vessels in a few ways, but I think seeing the art as a gift that I've gained is sometimes I look at the shit, I'm like, I can't believe I did this. And I couldn't recreate this if I tried, because it's so in the moment for me sometimes. And that's, I struggle too, because I'm a quick artist. So like I have to finish it in one sitting, because the mood I can't replicate. Like how I feel right now is how I feel, and it's gotta come onto the canvas. Tomorrow is a whole, even in an hour, like I'm gonna feel differently. So it feels like a high almost, like I gotta get this shit out. And it's tough because I got a 9-to-5 and I gotta pay the fucking bills, and that gets in the way of like doing what I actually want. Yeah. And I've been struggling with that a lot lately. At my job right now, we have ship PTO, and I've been getting really angry about it, because it's like I'm getting sick and tired of like working. And maybe that's a sign for me to like get a different job, but I'm just in general like exhausted to like clock in and not be doing what the hell I want to do. So that's also helped me though to value my time. My time is a gift. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Just kidding. But no, I've learned to value
Real
my
comfortable.
time.
Real
and it's gotta be like that because we all got the same 24 hours, right? And so, what the hell are we doing with it? So, yeah, that's a lot about me.
I most definitely most.
Go ahead. You talking.
Oh, do you have something to say? Do you have something to say?
Okay, goofy.
What? Were you about to say something?
I was, but you started talking.
Go ahead, Arthur, please.
Yeah, say something, nigga. Shit.
You started talking.
Sometimes we gonna fucking talk at the same time. Like, I know when to defer and say it. Shit. God damn it. Fuck. I'm pissed. I gotta fucking censor out some niggas. Shit. I'm not. Well, Robert, when you edit this, cut that part. But go, nigga.
So
Shit.
like in the process, like in this process of like transition between hobby and life run, how do you like minimize like that opportunity to really like put it into practice for you for good? Like, how do you like, my 9 to 5 is paying the bills, but my hobby is here, and it's like, this is my outlet. My hobby is my outlet, but I love my hobby. And it's like, how do I now begin to process that in my head? Like, how do you take that moment?
Yeah, no, I think that's a wonderful question. I sometimes it's like I have to stay past my bedtime and like it's prioritization. Like, it's like sometimes it feels like, yeah, my bedtime's 10 o'clock for this 9 to 5. And so that's feeding one area of my life, which I can't deny it. And I have to be grateful and thankful because I have prayed many nights for this job and this position. So I can't always knock in. I got to watch myself how I speak about it as well. But I also like, that can't be, like we're talking about, like that can't be my worth. And so putting more value into my art, and just prioritizing time. Like, homegirl hit me up, you want to go for drinks, or you want to do this? It's like, I do, but I also want to do this. And like, as I'm getting older, I'm learning like what's actually feeding my spirit. Like this feeds my spirit, every now and then, right? In the short term and long term, I mean, we're making memories, but creating something it's creating life, like, and I just finding prioritization and being real with myself about it and not being scared, like, because sometimes, just like here today, like I'm like, I got to get the seat right, I got to get the lighting right, does my hair look like, I get too focused on like everything has to be okay. Like, I have to have my snack, I have to have the right lighting, I have to have the right pajamas, I had to have showered or cried a little bit before I did this, and I can get so in the way of like myself sometimes. And I've had to learn to just like create without an audience, so that's a roundabout answer, but yeah.
All right. So, before we end today's show, we always, there's a lot of masculine energy always here. And we had a very interesting podcast last week. So we have 2 questions. So it doesn't have to be too long.
Okay.
But it's more open form. We're not going to look for you for all the answers. Okay. Okay. But last week, and I'm pretty sure you've heard this, this was going around, but last week we talked about what makes a guy corny.
Oh shit.
We're bringing this back, right?
Well, of course, we have options.
No.
And I'm just curious, I'm pretty sure you heard, Michael B. Jordan was called a corny guy, and we made some assumptions, and
Hilarious.
and I'm just curious. We got to ask the source. You don't have all the answers, but I'm curious. If a girl calls a guy corny off rip, is that something that he should be like, oh yeah, I'm glad I'm just corny? Is that an endearing quality, or that's a negative? What are your thoughts?
I think it depends on how you define corny. I think it depends on how you relate to corniness. I think it depends on how your ego sits with that word, to be honest. I think it's about how you make it and what you do with it, do you take it as an insult? And if so, like, why? If you know who you are and you know what you're about, like, why is that getting to you? And it could be like, the reason why it's getting to me is because I could feel you're trying to put harm on me, right? But at the end of the day, like, if you're secure and comfortable with yourself, like, I think it says more about the person than it does about you, really.
I would have to agree as well.
Yeah, because it's like, well, who fucking cares? And I think it's fun to be playful. And, like, do you consider being playful and free corny? Right? And, like, we're talking about trying to relax and trying to smell the roses. Like, is that corny for you? Right? And, like, I think it goes down to, like, what you value and how you define things.
Well, let's keep it a band. On average, when women say, oh, he's corny, it ain't good. It ain't good. We shooting him down. Sniper. 1 bullet.
Stab in the stomach.
3 buildings away. Oh, that corny bozo. Here he come again. Oh, my gosh. And I was just curious because, that is just an interesting, perspective to have. But what I ultimately wanted to lead us into our last question for the night would be the city boy, city girl mentality. I'm just curious because I feel like this is a good group of people to have to talk about. How does that serve someone in a relationship? And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is I know, like, on our social media chains, there's a lot of inside jokes of, like, city boys up, city girls down, Young Miami this, P. Diddy that, and it's always this versus. And I was listening to this podcast and it posed a pretty good question of, like, how does that serve you in a relationship, like being a city boy or a city girl? Because in our last episode, we kind of talked about competition, and I'll just start with where, like, I know I joke, and I know I'll say, for example, like, what Future represents is something that is not conducive in a relationship, where it's like, oh my gosh, like, I'm this quote unquote high value person. Like, I'm not going to make a relationship work. And I think that's something that, if I'm talking about being a city boy, something I would want to take out because it doesn't serve me getting to know a person. Because we talked about vulnerability a lot here. That doesn't allow me to be vulnerable with the person and be like, I actually can't pay for this date, or I actually can't do this because I'm balling on a budget. Respectfully.
Yes, sir.
But I was curious, what y'all think? We ain't gotta go long too far in, but, like, how do you think the city boy, city girl mentality enhances or doesn't enhance a relationship?
I think it's propaganda to break up the family dynamic. Like, I think I think right now in our culture is a lot about, like, hyper independence. I don't need anybody. And it's individually empowering, but if we're trying to think of community and as a collective, like that's harming us. But I think as a culture right now, like we're in the wave of independence. Like I think, the feminism stuff is like right now women are like wanting to be liberated, and that's a touchy subject. Happy Women's Month, day, whatever.
It's
we're
month.
gonna get canceled.
It's okay.
We
You
hate
know?
women. Yeah.
But-
I'm kidding. I'm fucking kidding. Shit, I gotta say that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it feels good to the individual, but if we're talking about relationships and community and connection, I don't think it serves us very much.
I have to agree. I think the city girl, city boy.
It's fun.
Oh, damn right. Hello, Saturday.
It definitely brings a sense of like conversation, I guess, to many environments. But I think it also, when it comes time, because I work with youth, it literally becomes kind of a sense of standard, because they are the trend of what they follow. And so like they begin to propagate everything that they see, and so it's a trickle down effect. So like I feel like, yes, as an adult you understand reality, and what you see is like, yay, city boys up, but ultimately it's like, I don't rock like that. You know what I'm saying? As youth though, it's, hey, city boys up, I'm about to go do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? And now we've begun to teach younger and younger folks to do this. And, oh, yeah, I'm about to have 7 girlfriends and 3 baby moms and be like Future, right? And, like,
Yeah.
it's like a trickle-down effect. And I think one of my questions I was going to ask you, we didn't really jump into the trauma aspect of stuff, was, like, how does social media perpetuate trauma in society? And I feel like this is a reflection of that, and saying like, we want to change mentalities and how we see youth, but we are acting like children as adults. And it's like, I think it's a hard reality that, sometimes we have to face.
Yeah. I mean, like in our field, where I had the conversation with my supervisor today about like, there's people are youth are suffering right now. Youth are struggling with mental health right now. We're going into a mental health crisis, and that's going to be, it's been happening, but it's definitely, the pandemic has definitely influenced it, and it's going to be the ripple effect of those 2-3 years that we've been going through, whatever that has been. But our youth are exposed to more stressors than they ever have in history, in the palm of their hand. And, we have terms like doom scrolling, right? Where I don't want to face my reality, so I'm going to dig into social media, which is stressful because you got beauty standards, you got war, you got global warming that you're seeing in the palm of your hand, and you're feeding yourself that, and you think it's a distraction from a stressor, but it's actually just another stressor. And so technology is so beautiful, and it's helpful, and also I think about like the Rick and Morty, like, you create like this new invention, and then you have to create another invention to control that invention. And it's like this thing. So I think our youth need a lot of help, and I'm guilty of it. As we get older, we're like, oh, these kids are too soft. They need to harden up, and they need to like
Yeah, they do.
grow up. But that's what our, folks were saying about us.
But
And so
we earned this right to say, like, get off our lawn. Like,
Yeah.
it's the rite of passage. Like,
yeah, we have, and we're in it. But yeah, I think our youth are really struggling, and we're struggling to meet them where they're at because we think they're ignorant because of their age. But youth are very wise. We just got to get to their level and want to know, actually want to know what's going on with them and want to listen, not just act like I care, because kids can read. They can smell blood and they can read through anything. But yeah, that's my take.
Well, we'll take the city boy with the flannel down there. What are your thoughts? Bring us home, city boy.
Final thought.
Final thought.
On that whole topic, I think it goes back to the corny idea. Honestly, at the end of the day, you don't want to be corny. So what's the opposite of corny? You're looking up to a guy like Future.
Hypermasculinity.
Hypermasculinity. It's the city boy mindset. We talk about Future all the time. Sia.
Great music.
Sure, yeah. Sia ended up going with Russell Wilson at the end of the day, who is labeled a corny guy.
And look at her now, making music for people to be hyper independent.
Yeah.
Conundrum.
I think it just goes back. People are so scared of being labeled corny, especially by someone maybe they perceive they are attracted to, maybe someone they want respect from, that they will go the opposite direction and go towards that mindset. On the technology thing too.
We can add something really quick before. It's tough because just like men are taught hyper masculinity, so are women. And so it's difficult because it's like men aren't safe around other men aren't safe around women, and like men are, to be like doing the right thing is corny for the average dude nowadays and for the average woman nowadays. So that's why I wanted to ask y'all about safe spaces, because it's hard to be a man out here. It's hard to be a man. And I know that goes against a lot of what people say, but
you're getting on a lot of women's bad side right now.
It's okay. We live in a man's world where men are the ones who have the most suicide rates. Men are do the most violence, and so like there's statistics that back this up, and so yeah, it's hard out here. And so how you define corny is up to you, but I think it's also just like be authentic. Like if you're authentic, if you're just yourself, like you might be lonely, but at least you're real. I mean, shit. This is where I'm at. Like,
she comfortable.
So you put a couple corny bullets in the chamber. It's like, look here. You was like, damn. You told him to dance. You told him to dance, right?
Nah.
No, okay. No.
You had something about technology, and I cut you off. I'm so
no, you're
apologize.
totally fine. I wanted to add to that like, I don't think it's going to get better.
Yeah.
I think it's already what our parents were saying about us. The next generation's worse. Soon we're going to see kids that are chopping off their arms to get biotic arms because they're better and they can shoot a basketball better. They're going to have new robotic legs because they can run faster.
They're doing that with the booties and the boobs.
Exactly.
So.
We're like humans are just going to progressively just become. We're 20 years away.
Okay.
We're 10 years away from having the chip in our head. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah. No. I hear you.
Well, this has been lovely.
Appreciate the time.
Yes, and I took no offense when you said your time is precious. Yeah. I'm learning that so much. Yeah. Even my time, our times, and that's why you should always be careful with each other because we're bridging gaps constantly. So whether it's the janitor, houseless person, the time you spend with someone from a millisecond all the way to a couple hours, it's precious, everyone. And I just want to say I'm so glad I trusted me gut, and I was like, people need to hear your story.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you so much for sharing some of your precious time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank y'all.
So if you like what we're doing,
Like, subscribe, hit the bell.
And leave a 5-star review on Spotify.
Absolutely. And Apple Music, because we're on there too.
Apple Podcast. But love you. Where can we find you?
I was just about to say that.
Oh, yeah, I did that on purpose this time.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Instagram is Ojo Muchacha. So it's OJOMUCHA. It means lookout gal. Yeah.
So if you like what we're all talking about, please follow us. All of our stuff will be in the bio. Her art, Costa's podcast, AJ's podcast, the Critics podcast, all that stuff. Revamping. I'm doing new things different. Find us all. We're doing dope things. And this has been another wonderful installment of the Play No Games podcast / show. And we's
Out.
Peace.
3,000.
Probably wondering if I think of you. Sorry, I'm for the bag right now. Yeah, I'm for the bag right now. Yeah, for the bag that I never had. Yeah, you probably mad right now. Yeah, I got a 2-piece now. But shit, I think they call them groupies now.